Okay, this is about the APL Wiki. The APL Wiki is now in place for several years. We had a difficult start, to put it mildly. In the meantime, I can say that, first of all, the software environment got stable, meaning that I got rid of the spamming and security issues we were suffering from over the first, I think, 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. Since I'm using Apache, the problems were solved. It's fine. So it's a stable environment. There's no need to worry about this. Looks fine. We also got some flesh on the bones, meaning that the wiki comes now with significant content. We have something for newcomers. The course developed by MicroAPL and available on the MicroAPL website got converted into web pages. And we got also some stuff for OTANs, looking for code or examples or how-tos, all that kind of stuff. However, I encountered still a problem in getting access to the information. And that brought up the idea to do a kind of presentation of how to get hold of information hidden somewhere in the wiki. And I would like to show some of the techniques useful to find the information. First of all, obviously in the top right corner there is a feature to search for something. Let's imagine that you are looking for something which allows you to display a help page from APL. Obviously you would do something like that. Now that is not very useful, because you get much too much. You would like to see a single page, not 100, 108 results. The reason for that is that when you press enter after filling something into the edit box, it will do a search on all captions of all pages in the wiki. Whenever it finds the string help in the caption, that is a hit. And because all the help pages in the underlying software itself start with help, you get hundreds of hits. Now we are not interested. What we would like to get is only those pages which have nothing to do with the underlying software MoinMoin itself. There is no way to do this in this search box over there. But there is a Find Page tab which offers much more control about what to look for where. And you can do here a search on help and tick the no system items checkbox, meaning that all the stuff related with MoinMoin itself is ignored. Still 64. Which is a surprise, but anyway, much better. So this is one important way to restrict a search to the pages, the APL pages as such. Also important is not always you are able to look for something which you expect to make an appearance in the caption as such. Sometimes you need to look for something in the text. And that can't be done by pressing the Enter key. You have to use the mouse and press the text button, meaning that the text is performed on the whole page, not only the caption. Now that may take in a large wiki significantly longer than the search on the captions, and I think it's absolutely obvious why. It's a big deal. Unfortunately, it's not slow in the APL Wiki. Why is this unfortunate? Well, there is not much to search right now, so it's still fast enough. Second thing I would like to mention is only, I think, about 30 people or so have created an account on the APL Wiki so far. Now, you might think that creating an account is something you are supposed to do only if you are going to contribute as an editor to a page on the wiki. Although I would like to see hundreds of people doing that, I know that on one contributor, possibly there are 5 to 50 people simply looking at the wiki without any intention to edit or create a page. But there are very good reasons to create an account, even if you never consider to write an article or to fix a typo. And I would like to show you what the difference is. For that purpose, I changed the browser, because in the Opera browser, I'm looking at the web, at the APL Wiki as a guest, without a user account. You can recognize this by the word logged in. Only when the logged in is replaced by a username, you are actually logged into the wiki. And to get logged in, of course, you have to have an account in the first place. And in this case, I'm looking at my personal homepage. And you can see that you can't see my email address. The reason for that is that the Moin Wiki takes some actions against spamming purposes, meaning that when a robot comes along and tries to find out about email addresses on pages, it gets something like that, although a human being still can work out what the actual email address is, a robot normally can't. Looking at the same page with an account will display the real email address. That also answers the question, why should I provide my email address to the wiki? I'm not interested in getting any spam. My chances are you won't, if you get it right. The idea behind this is that a macro is actually used to provide the email address, and everything that is in pure uppercase is ignored when the actual page is created. While the other stuff is simply confusing robots and other bad guys. Now, what I would very much appreciate is when a number of people, best of course all of you, are now going to follow my steps to create an old account. So what I'm going to do is I create a new test user, and those of you who are willing to create their own user account can follow the steps and can work out what the advantages of that are. The first thing to do is to click at the login button. Now you have no name and no password so far, but you can create from this page your own account by clicking at you can create one now. Now you may wonder what that is all about. What is the first number with 2 digits? I mean, it's not exactly a difficult question to answer.
But you don't want anybody in the wiki who can't answer it, right?
The surprising thing is that this very easy approach works very well, while the more complex one, those of you who are using a Google Mail account know that Google Mail is using almost perfect captchas. Captchas, you might know, are an attempt to tell the people from the computers. So if a robot is coming along and tries to create an account automatically on Google, they try to prevent this by showing you some letters, and you have to guess what it is and put it into an edit box. And that is very difficult to achieve in the meantime, because, for example, obscuring the background doesn't work anymore. Text recognition now is so perfect that regardless of what you try, they always are able to work out what the actual letters are. So you have to do something like that to make them hard to read. Well, they get hard to read even for human beings, and that's one problem. Another problem is that there are services available which solve the problem for the spammers. You might wonder how this is going to work. There are two very different approaches. One is that in particular in India there are companies offering services. You send an image and they send back the letters. It costs only some pence and works pretty well and makes sure that some people in the third world at least are able to make their living with IT without any knowledge, or almost no knowledge. And much more funny is the second approach. You go on the website, you see a wonderful girl in clothes, and you are promised if you put some letters from that capture into an edit box, the girl will lose their clothes. And that's simply to make you work for them. So they take the Google Mail capture, present them on the website. You are stupid enough to enter the letters, and they send it back to the robot, and it works. It's unbelievable. So all these approaches are more and more difficult. While this still works, might not work for very long, but for the time being it solves the problem. Thank you. Oh, that actually is a problem. I was not aware of this. Because I would like to receive an email, I have to use a real one. Ah, I hit the enter key accidentally. I'm sorry. So that should work. Oh dear. I'm going to use the email address of my partner. As far as I know, she doesn't have an account on the wiki. Okay, so now we have created an account. Why is it so hard to enter a password which is accepted? It's checking the length, it's checking that the characters are not the same all the time. All this kind of stuff is tested for the same reasons. Spammers now try to crack accounts by providing thousands, if not millions, of passwords to get hold of an already existing account. There is no need to create a new one if I can crack an existing one. For that reason, the password shouldn't be too stupid. Now that's a big problem. There are still people around creating an eBay account, giving the name of their partner, the first name of their partner as password. Of course, that is not a good idea. Nobody needs to know that, because you can actually try as often as you like. Although eBay, I think, stops now doing so when they work out that you try it within a second thousands of times to repeat the password. Now, in the meantime, you can log on because the account exists. What was the name of the account? I've chosen to test that account.
I think it was
Test, yeah. Test.
Okay. I'm now entitled to see the real email address, so that has changed. I am also able to edit a page now. Before that, there was no edit button available. Instead, told I think it's immutable, so you couldn't change anything. And that's again for the very same reason. As soon as you have an account and you are a spammer, you try to put tons of nonsense into the wiki. And that is not something I'm telling you, I experienced that. So I enjoyed the opportunity to delete thousands of pages, in particular from China, about companies selling tombstones. I don't know why they believe they sell one single tombstone more than without that effort, but they put that stuff into my wiki. I have no idea. Now again, there is a very stupid question, enter 4 dots, and that is quite annoying, isn't it? Seems to mean that whenever you create a page or delete a page or change a page, you get a stupid question and have to answer that question. That is not exactly true. And the reason for that is that we make a difference between users we trust and users we don't trust. After having created an account, I do not trust you. I trust you a little bit. And that means I still continue with the stupid questions to tell the programs from the human beings. But as soon as I get convinced that behind that user account is a real human being, I will put it on a list of trusted users, which is quite easy to do, which can be done by every administrator. I will show that in a minute. That is easy when somebody is creating that account and the name is, for example, John Daydream, because I know him, okay? But some people prefer to hide their real names and to create the account as ABC100. Well, I don't know what ABC100 means. I have no idea. In that case, I'm going to send an email to you and make a friendly request to explain to me who you are and what the purpose of the account is. A robot normally doesn't answer to this, and if he does, he has no idea what to answer. So I know it's nonsense. And so far, whenever I was in doubt, I got an email which explained to me in a reasonable way that the guy behind the request was a real human being that was really interested in APL. Now, what I'm going to do then is I have to go to the other account, because this one is logged in as Jaeger, one of the administrators, so I can do something. I search for pages which are having trusted in their caption. There is only one. If there is only one, there is no overview. I found one page, it jumps to that single page immediately. And that is a list of the trusted users. Now when I press again edit text, the stupid question which was asked here has disappeared. Now test account got a trusted user and the stupid questions have disappeared forever. So it's only temporarily something to be annoyed about. As you can see in the list of users having an account so far, some of them come with a link and some of them don't have a link, and in one case the link looks slightly different. It's italic and not bold. The reason for these links is they are following the MoinMoin syntax for automatic links, meaning they are camel case. There is an uppercase first character and a second uppercase character in the last name. This is different because it is a link following the conventions, but so far the private homepage of that, for that account hasn't been created, and that is indicated by the MoinMoin Wiki by displaying it not in the but in italic. Meaning that clicking on that is the easiest way to create a homepage because we'll come up with what we are going to do. Would you like to create a new page? Well, yes, you should. At least you should provide your own homepage to provide your name and your email address. And if you would like to hide your name, then, okay, an alias name, which allows you, or maybe which allows others to recognize you when they know something about you. When did I start? That can't be possible. I started 5 minutes ago. Okay. Let's move around a little bit. I started from my personal homepage, then went to the main page, and then clicked on this page. So I've selected 3 different pages, and you can see all of these pages in the header. So there is a so-called page tray available, which allows you easily to go back to a page you've already visited during the current session. That feature is only available to you when you have an account, because it means you have to save it in a cookie, and the cookie has to be enabled. That's the account. It won't be available without the account. There are a number of options you can set in the settings, and again, of course, the settings are only available to you after having created an account. I don't want to go all of the options, but I would like to explain those who are really important. One thing is, depending on the size of the monitor you are using, you can adapt the edit box size when editing a page. Because it's quite annoying when you have a cinema screen and you get 5 lines of text, only because you can't change that value. You can change the value to the most preferred one. You can also define what you would prefer to have in an editor, text version or the GUI version. I will come to this in some minutes. This needs to be ticked when you want to have this page tray, so you can suppress that if you don't like it. I never was able to work out what the icon of device. If somebody can explain that to me, I would be very grateful. No idea. On my own machine, of course, I prefer to have login information remembered, so I don't need to enter password and user account over and over again. And this might be quite useful as well. Show top and bottom links in headings. It's easier to show the effect than to explain that. What is a branch? This is quite a large article with many sub-captions. On the right side there is a table of contents, and with a click on the table of contents entry you can jump right down to that entry. Now, by default there is no opportunity to jump up back to the top of the page. And the checkbox we've just ticked makes sure that this is displayed. This is actually a link. And clicking on that link, it jumps to the top of. No, it doesn't. Sorry, I think I just moved the mouse to the left, which means go, of course, to the bottom. that jumps to the bottom of the top of the page, that jumps to the bottom of the page. Last thing, no, not the last thing, the almost last thing you can do with an account, but not without an account. Sometimes you visit the same page several times because the issue you are interested in is quite difficult and you would like to switch between the wiki and your session or something. And maybe in the meantime you've jumped to other pages as well. So it might be a nice idea to have something like a bookmark. And you can achieve that by clicking on Add Link when you are displaying the page you are interested in, because it's putting an additional tab. There seems to be no difference. That was available right now as well. But there is a difference actually, because normally this displays only the current page. When you now change, that will remain. So you can always, with a single click on this tab, go back to that page. Let's prove that. Go to say about the APL Wiki. This is the current page, and that is now permanently available. It's different from the other tabs in the respect that these are system tabs, which are available regardless of what you do. While this is a little bit different because this is your choice. You have added this by choice. And the very last feature is, imagine the following situation. You put a significant amount of effort in creating a page. After having done so, and maybe invested many hours of time into creating such a page, you might feel to some extent responsible for that page. Not a problem after having the page created, because at the bottom there's always something that tells you who has edited that page. Problem is, when you make a mistake and somebody else pops in and fixes the typo, his name will make an appearance there. But you might not like that, because you've put all the effort into it. For that purpose, there's only one solution. You put an author, colon, and your name on the page, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's a useful information for others, because they can contact you even after others have jumped in and changed minor things. But how to recognize such a change? You are hardly interested in walking into the wiki every second week and checking all your pages, only to find out if somebody else stepped in and fixed a typo. But the easiest way to do this is to subscribe a page. What that means is that whenever somebody else is changing that page, the user test account is going to become an email telling him about the change. So it's an automatic message system telling you about the change. You can go even further and go for all sorts of different modifications. You will hardly be interested in all of them, but one can ask for confirmations when a page has been deleted, a new account has been created, copied, whatever. And you can, instead of specifying a single page, specify a wildcard for all pages, but be aware that it's not a wildcard, as you might think. It is a dot wildcard, because this is a regular expression. And regarding to the rules of grammar of regular expression, it has to be a dot start for that purpose. Which, by the way, enables an administrator to be aware of anything that is going on in the wiki. Whenever somebody is changing something, deleting something, adding something, or creating an account, I get an email, not only I'm told I can keep an eye on that. turned out to be very, very important. Okay, I was hoping that many of you are busy typing usernames and passwords, but so far that was not exactly what I was looking for. I'm slightly disappointed.
Well, look at
Two. Okay, great.
I've asked for a reminder of my password to be sent to me.
I'm new to name which has got a space in the middle, so I don't get a home page. How can
Yes.
I delete myself as a user? I can't do it.
Don't do this. I can do this for you if you agree.
Fine, yes.
Normally, what happens if you do this, many people are not aware of the problem, and it has happened in the past several times, and we still have a number of people with that problem. There must be somebody.
Oh, wait, wait.
my page.
For example. Yeah. I think I sent you an email asking you, would you allow me to change that?
I said yes.
Really? Oh, that email never made it into my inbox. I did this with 12 or 13 people for a reason I can demonstrate in a second. It's not really important as long as you do not have any interest in having your own homepage, of course, because it doesn't matter in that sense. But many people do not know that this is a kind of convention which is necessary to follow to have such a homepage. And for that reason, I'm telling and changing if you agree with it. But there is a reason why this is quite annoying. I think it's a misdesign in MoinMoin. There is a page which is called orphaned. Orphaned pages are pages who are standing on their own, meaning that there is no link from elsewhere in the MoinWiki pointing to that page. So you might think, well, it's very hard to find them there. Not necessarily. First of all, if you are searching the page, you of course still will find them. And secondly, there is the category concept I'm going to explain in a second, which will display them anyway. But the private stuff would make an appearance. For example, this one. Roger has just created an account. So he had not even a chance to create his personal homepage. These are listed here. This is annoying. I would like you to create the personal homepage to make them disappear from the orphan page. Even if that personal homepage is not displaying any useful information. I lost my thread. What was I talking about?
Blanks and names.
I said that I will do this for you if you had inserted a blank. That was my last topic. And then? Categories. Right. Okay. That is just enough. Yeah. There are three ways to provide information or to find information in the wiki. One we've discussed, searching for information. That's easy. The second one is the ordinary approach when you try to provide a document. The document has somehow to compile itself, or you have to have a structure. And you jump from one page to another by linking them together. That is all well and good, but sometimes you create a page and there is no point thinking about linking from elsewhere to that page because the whole topic is completely new. So there is no way to link to that page. And for that purpose, Moin comes with a concept called categories. A category is simply a word which starts with the word category. And it has to have at least a second word. Possible categories which would make sense in this word, for example, could be category Dyalog and category APLX and category APL 2000 for obvious reasons. Because you know that this is providing information which is somehow vendor specific. Okay? There's nothing wrong with adding more than one category to a page. A page which is specific for Dyalog, for example, can also be very specific because it's about using .NET from Dyalog. So it would very well fit also the category.net. Now the beauty about this is let's display any page which is part of a category. The category definition must be the last one on the page. This is not part of the page, strictly speaking. This is added automatically by the software. So if you edit the page, you won't see this. The last line you will see in the editor is this one. Only then it is getting part of the category APL. Very obvious meaning of that is if you mention the category for other reasons within the text, it would put the page into that category. If that rule wouldn't be in place. Now if I click on that link, you get a category page. This is text. This is a bad example. Let me choose another example. This is better but not perfect because there is only one hit. I would like to have more than one hit. Yeah, that is perfect. This page is partly created permanently, this paragraph and this paragraph. And all this stuff is created dynamically. Meaning that if somebody is coming along right now and is writing a new page and adds category, what did I choose? Category Dyalog to the end of that page and save the page. And then I'm going to press F5 to refresh that page. This new page would automatically appear underneath the notes. It's sorted by names. It would make an appearance in the list. In other words, category pages are always up to date, which also means that in a very large wiki, it can take some time to create such a page, which is obviously the disadvantage. Okay, that was that. Any questions?
If two orphan pages point to each other, are they still orphaned?
No, they are not.
But there's no way of getting into them because nobody else points to them.
Well, as soon as another page is linking to a page, by definition, that page is not any longer orphaned. But although you can argue that both of them are orphaned.
If they point to each other, and that's it.
Greek is to Bertrand Russell. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Thank you.